CNBC-TV18 Weekender.
Welcome back. You're watching CNBC-TV18 Weekender, and we're in conversation with Mithun and Arun Chittilappilly on how the gentleman transformed a family-run business into what is today a listed entity. And in this segment, we're talking to both the brothers on just how their brand has been shaping up in the last few years and where they plan to take the brand from henceforth. You know, something very interesting that has struck me about both of you is that how there is a very similar strategy in terms of what you want to do with regard to your respective brands. For instance, Mithun, when you took over V-Guard in 2012, the focus immediately, and this was very clear, was simply on how you could make this brand into a national brand. You know, there was advertising strategies that saw a change. You started advertising on platforms where you found more publicity on the national stage. What was your thinking back then?
So I think when I joined the business in 2006, we were largely confined to southern states. Almost 98% of our revenues were coming from south, four states. The other parts of the country contributed very small revenue. So the work we've been doing since then has been taking the brand national. So first it started with distribution. So till about 2010 or 11, the focus was on building the distribution pipeline in those markets. And I think somewhere in 2011 onwards, we started advertising on platforms. We have taken national platforms like IPL, etc., and other national platforms as well. So that's been the journey, and I think it's still work in progress. I think we'll take another 5 years to complete our rollout pan-India.
Of course, that is something very important to you. It's part of the journey itself. But I have to ask you, you very rightly mentioned how 98% of your revenues were accounted for by the South, Mithun. But what I want to understand is today that number is 67%. But it still is a very sizable number, of business that the South accounts for. Are you happy with this? Where do you want it to be in terms of the ratios that each of these geographies account for your business?
In 2007 or 8, we had probably 10 crore revenue coming from the non-South markets. That's what we like to call it internally. Today, last year we did about 700 odd crores. This year we will be very close to 900 to 950 odd crores. So I think today the non-South operation of V-Guard is 3 to 4 times larger than a company that was when V-Guard was in 2006. So I think that way it's been pretty successful.
But before that, Arun, I have to ask you, a similar strategy really, because only earlier this year, even you tossed around your strategy in terms of branding, you changed around your brand a bit, and this even as you are looking to get out of the South in terms of your amusement parks. For instance, you have one park in Kochi, one park in Hyderabad, one park in Bangalore, your fourth is coming up in Chennai, another very strong South Indian city. Let's set the record straight. Where is your fifth park coming, and is that going to be your big foray into a non-South market?
Amusement parks, by its very nature, work really well in a tropical climate. So consequently, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, and even Chennai are very prime locations for us to do this. For example, if we had to go to a place like Delhi, we'll have to change our strategy significantly because of the climate change and stuff like that. So we would like to go a gradual walk towards the north, and next foray after Chennai would most likely be in the western region. Either Maharashtra or Goa. So, or
there's been some talk about Gujarat also figuring.
Gujarat is also a very good option. They're very pro business.
But which of these markets are you more inclined to, Arun?
I would have to say Maharashtra or Gujarat. Goa is a bit of a tricky area, but also showing a lot of promise in the last 4 or 5 years.
All right. Arun, I'm very intrigued by one aspect. Despite Bangalore not exactly doing well in terms of footfalls for your Bangalore park, with regard to a number of issues that cropped up within the state and the city, your footfalls did increase by a very healthy 30%, in the last year. Good for business, but yet you've gone for the jugular by ensuring that your marketing budget still remains strong at a very cool 26 crore rupees. What's the strategy at play here? Why are you going this aggressive, and what new segment are you hoping to tap in by this aggression?
So last year, a lot of our growth came from our new park, which is Hyderabad. So that contributed a lot of our growth, and the older markets, which is Bangalore and Cochin, didn't really perform that well. We were hit by the service tax a little bit, and this year the GST is also not pro the sector as such. But we are hoping that next year onwards we can claw back our footfalls. So there's been a change in pricing, quite a significant change in pricing, but we are still not seeing we're still able to grow the business. So that gives us a lot of confidence that, with the right amount of marketing and the right, targets, which are kids for us mostly,
all right,
we should be able to still grow the business. We have not seen that we've hit a saturation point yet.
All right. And coming back to where the brands are going from here, let me first come to you, Mithun. You just spoke about how it was so essential to bring your brand to the national platform in the hope to tap into those markets that weren't quite the ones that you were traditionally involved in. Where do you go from here? Even as we speak, we're on the cusp of another brand, turnaround as far as V-Guard is concerned. What are you hoping for? What are you hoping to achieve with the next facelift for the brand V-Guard?
So V-Guard as a brand has been now in existence for almost 40 years. We are, this is our 40th year of operations as a brand. So there are some challenges being an old, I would say not old, maybe a middle-aged brand. We have this challenge of connecting with the younger consumers. We have another challenge, which is the new markets where we are not as salient as some of our peers who are based there. So I think, we want to address some of these issues, and we have addressed, but I think it's still work in progress.
A moving playfield, that's probably the best way to describe what has been happening at both these brands in the last few years. On that note, we'll have to slip into a very short break again. But when we come back, we'll talk about how government policy has impacted business both at V-Guard and Wonderla. Keep watching CNBC-TV18 Weekender.
CNBC-TV18 Weekender.